Just imagine a scenario where a girl gets her period for the first time,
Right,
not knowing what it is, what has happened, why has she started bleeding all of a sudden, and
right.
she could be in any given number of places.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the episode 2 of the podcast Cafe. Today we have with us Miss Ishu Shiva. I'm your host, Harshit. Miss Ishu Shiva is a yoga teacher, a social entrepreneur, a menstrual health educator. She's the founder and the managing director at Sanitree. She's also the co founder of the Jeevan Arth Foundation. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for such a warm welcome and a great introduction.
Sure, ma'am. Okay, ma'am, please tell us something about the Jeevan Arth Foundation and what it is working towards and how it all started with you.
So basically, Jeevan Arth Foundation started in 2017, and the problem was we found that there were a lot of problems that were being faced in Rajasthan community, that needed a solution. Basically, just to speak about menstruation would solve a lot of problems. um, Me coming from Goa, being brought up in Goa, I was very lucky and fortunate to receive correct education about menstruation just before my period started.
Okay.
And for me, everything was normal until we shifted back to Rajasthan. That's where I belong to. And I saw a major difference between how people treat menstruators
Right.
and just the general, vibe about menstruating women. And I thought this needed change from the roots, and we just created a platform where we could train a lot of young, youth people, and teach girls and boys as well. And we saw great results. So basically what we did was, we educated over 18,000 kids just in the span of 62 days.
My goodness.
And this happened in various schools, and we took up educational classes for girls and boys as well.
Right.
um, because we know, like, you and I both have studied in school about menstruation periods, like,
Right.
our regular science classes. But the problem is we don't really connect with our own body while we are studying that.
Yes.
So it's all very scientific and technical terms, and we tried to kind of narrow it down, simplify it, and made it very much like it belongs to their own body, and how practically they can, go through the process, how boys can help, and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is something very great that you're doing with the Jeevanath Foundation.
Thank
Okay,
you.
ma'am. So, how did it go with sanitary, and how did it? What, ma'am? What is sanitary all about?
So Sanitree is a social enterprise, and how it came about was, it was the result of all the problems we faced during Jeevan Arth Foundation's menstrual hygiene awareness campaigning.
Okay.
So I could just quickly list that down to you. So one, of course, the education, we were doing it, but the kind of education required, also the kind of, various kind of products that were available in the market.
Right.
So educating girls and boys about that was very important. Secondly, the product that we were distributing during the awareness drive was only a one time it would like, so it was a sanitary packet that would, we would distribute, and it would not last for a month even. So I felt like, that this is not sustainable, and we need to find a solution that will be creating a long term impact.
Right.
When we are educating women, and when we are giving just 1 month's, or one packet,
Right.
for them to use, it's not enough. And we ask them to change their pads between 4 to 6 hours, right? And we're
Right.
not giving them enough supplies for even a month. So it kind of
Yeah.
felt like a little bit of a hypocrite while educating.
Yeah.
So we wanted to create a long lasting impact, right?
Yes.
And then also, we were very, very conscious from the very beginning that we should definitely educate about plastic pads being, used in a market. So we wanted to offer a solution to the communities and, school kids that
Mm-hmm.
was eco-friendly.
Okay.
So eco-friendly, long-lasting education model, and also, um, there we what we found was either women did not have any knowledge, or they had, like, they were like very much fascinated by the TV ads being run.
Right.
So there is a unrealistic kind of a gap between these two, marginal societies. So I decided to fill that. And here we are. We brought cloth pads back into the market,
Right.
where people thought that it was like, it's a long left thing, cloth is not hygienic anymore. But when you go deep into the roots and study, there are a lot of myths about the cloth as well, like with
Right.
the conventional marketing.
Yes.
So what we decided is, we will educate about all the products in the market. We will not do the regular selling, we will just educate.
Right.
And it's the right of the menstruator to choose their own product, try them out and see what works for their body. So
Right.
Sanitree brought a solution that is reusable sanitary pads that were organic, they were leak proof, and that they were helping a lot of women by, giving a long term solution. Also, these pads are made by our local beneficiaries that are women,
Okay.
locally from Jaipur. So it's generating employment as well.
Right. So, ma'am, you covered a lot of things together, create solving the
Yes,
problem as well and creating employment as well. Right,
yes,
ma'am. That
yes.
is a great initiative, I would say. Uh, okay. So, ma'am, not many people know about menstrual hygiene. And, ma'am, if you could please enlighten us something about it and why is it so important for everyone to know?
Yes. So, as you quoted, why is it important for everyone to know, not
Right.
just the people who bleed?
Right.
So, a data says that over 70% of girls don't even know about periods, what periods are.
My
And
goodness.
just imagine a scenario where a girl gets her period for the first time,
Right.
not knowing what it is, what has happened, why has she started bleeding all of a sudden. And
Right.
she could be in any given number of places, her school, her
Of
home,
course.
with friends, in a family function.
Definitely.
So it can be a fearful situation for her, a situation with trauma, it's a situation with a lot of shame. And she may find some good friends to kind of, guide her as well.
Right.
So first thing is, let's we thought we should definitely avail this awareness. We should definitely educate women, girls, before she starts her period. It's very,
Right.
very important.
Yes.
And what happens is, when there is lack of knowledge, you could use you may not follow all the menstrual hygiene practices. They may include like washing hands, washing your vulva, washing your like taking care of regular hygiene practices, and not using the correct product, not changing the product in time. So all these little information could lead to serious health hazards as well.
Right.
And not knowing and keeping it a taboo can lead to many other problems. um, so I've listed down some interesting problems for you.
Okay.
um, yes, so first of all, protecting the girl from these kind of accidents is very much important.
Yes.
The other thing is, you must have seen a data, it's being floated everywhere, that every year 23% of the girls drop out when they menstruate, when they start
Right.
menstruating in a
Right.
class. So like, how does it kind of um, picture, like what kind of picture does it create of a country where even 23% in 2022, this is
Right.
the data where this is the dropout rate. And how we can, when the girl does not study beyond her, where like 7th standard or 6th standard, if she doesn't get to go to school more than that, how can we expect a woman to contribute in the economy, and be a part of this whole GDP system, economy system,
Yes.
or even being treated equally at later stage of her life if she's deprived from such a basic right.
Yes.
And school comes very much later in her life. I think they are being deprived from a lot of other daily day-to-day life activities as well. So periods are not being treated normally. They are like a abnormal thing
Right.
in many societies. I am really happy to see a lot of a change in societies where they've started to speak more. But
Yes.
again, it sometimes can be this extreme levels, whether there is no knowledge at all, or there are people like kind of um vanishing all the ancient practices.
Right.
So not all of them are wrong. We need to understand if there is a guidelines where you must rest, so it was meant to rest. Your body goes through a lot of stressful active process.
Mm-hmm.
So um on the other hand, people are showing TV advertisement where like a girl wears a pant and a panty liner or a pad, and she feels very empowered, and she goes to play basketball and all. So it feels, for us
Right.
being in this domain, feels very much unrealistic. So like just extreme end of it.
Yes.
So yes, so we need to create a balance there, educate girls and women and menstruators, as we call,
Right.
about if there was any guideline in the past, why it has happened. If it has a logical explanation, do follow it.
Right.
If it does not, please kind of demolish it. For
Right.
example, a girl being treated like untouchable, why?
Yes. Doesn't
These
make
things are
sense.
just beyond like explanation. Doesn't make sense, of course. Yes, treated with shame, treated like there's a term for it, ashud. And if you go
Right.
into like Muslim community, you feel the word is napak. And so it is not only belonging to India as we think. We have worked with many international countries,
Right.
and we have found out, even in like United States, people, like even boys, they just do not want to talk about periods. They have zero knowledge about it sometimes. So I had given a talk in Los Angeles, and people were like
Okay.
really shocked that a girl is talking out about periods
Right.
like so openly. And some of them were like 90 years old, and they were shocked, and they had seen a girl like talk about this like so openly for the first time in their whole life.
Right.
So I just wonder how how they've been going about it in their day-to-day life.
Definitely.
So yes, and also when we talk about awareness about menstrual hygiene and management with boys as well. So boys may not menstruate, but why is it important for them to know? See,
Mm-hmm.
you are like always surrounded by menstruators. Imagine your mom
Right.
used to bleed, your sister, your wife, your daughter
Right.
to be, your colleagues, your friend, right? And sometimes what happens with the lack of knowledge, a lot of teenage girls that I counseled, they say boys do tease us. And I was very much like in shock. Boys tease you for this? They said yes, they don't know anything and they tease you, and it feels very bad.
Right.
And on the other hand, I try to solve the problem by like creating awareness in the boys as well, what a woman goes through.
Yes.
And that has completely changed the scenario. Out of the 18,000 kids, 11,000 were boys.
My
And we have
goodness.
seen immense results where they were like super supportive. I know that 100 out of 100% of all the boys that I know and I have spoken about periods to them, they
Right.
have 100% supported the cause. And although they've become more conscious for the women around them,
Right.
and they try to support, they try to at least like whatever little effort that they can do to make that person happy. And this has created a lot of difference. So eve teasing has completely changed.
Right.
Now the thing is like people like boys have turned over caring and everything. So that's kind of very sweet, and we want to see a world like that. um Yes, and the next point I want to talk about is the legacy of menstrual hygiene practices. The has been passed over generations, right?
Right.
But imagine in the past there were no schools, there were no proper educational classes like how we give.
Yes.
Even today the education has been delivered like in a very technical language, so it's very
Yes.
hard to understand. So the moms, our grandmoms, passed on the knowledge that they had, right?
Right.
They would pass on something that they knew, not something they don't know. And they would have passed on
Right.
something that was maybe relevant to their time. And now the
Yes.
situation, time, food, everything has changed. We're living in a completely
Yes.
different world. So there are communities who are practicing unrealistic practices during this time. So that has to change. We have to improvise and see what is relevant today, and deliver the education in a very simple manner. And if
Right.
possible, we try to do it in the regional language wherever we go. For
Okay.
example, if we go to like African countries, we want to make sure that the
Mm-hmm.
education is being delivered in the local language. If it is Rajasthan, then Rajasthani. If it is Tamil,
Yes.
state, then Tamil language. So that is very very important, because we may not associate ourselves with the English terms that are being given on the textbook.
Right.
Also, I spoke about the chaos in the
Yes.
difference, where there are like there is this bar where there is no knowledge at
Logic.
all. And
Right.
then there is this bar where there is like too much. Yeah, there's, they just want logic about everything.
Right.
And also, um filling, yes, the filling of the gap is where we stand, where we're trying to create a balance and try to understand. We, again, imposing a product,
Mm-hmm.
imposing same kind of knowledge is not going to work, especially in a country like India, where we have 70 types of climates,
Definitely.
like climatic conditions, regions, different communities. So I would just like to give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
For example, girls in a Muslim community, they would treat periods differently, right? They would treat their, like, how they separate themselves for a couple of days is different. What products they
Right.
use, how they product, they use product is very much different.
Mm-hmm.
Their prayer time is like completely kind of stopped for that time. So which is all like okay in that place. In the same scenario, a Hindu girl going to a temple or anything would be completely different. Going, not going to the kitchen, and what kind of product you're using, and everything would be different,
Right.
including the undergarment, is what I realized. I thought it was very much general for all like girls, but then it is very much different.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing that in the heart of the city, Jaipur, I realized that we have a lot of part of India to cover. And then I realized,
Yes.
no, every community is carrying their own taboos and their own teachings as well. So it's not all taboo. There are some good things to learn. For example, um, there's a community in Maharashtra that gives this drumstick leaves powder, leaves, boils the leaves and gives to the girl, and it is very much rich in iron and lot of
Mm-hmm.
supplements that is good for her body during the periods. um and it is a good thing. So it's a like legacy that the girls are carrying,
Right.
and it should be passed on. It is very nutritious for her body. At the same time, like some other states are telling, don't touch the achar pickle can, it will get spoiled and all, because you're impure, you're ashuddh.
Right.
So these kind of things. So there's a different gap. This is a taboo, and generally she shouldn't be like a woman that is menstruating shouldn't be using, eating a lot of oily, spicy and sour kind of things. She should be having simple food as much as possible to help her go through a normal period. This was the
Yes.
logic. But
Okay.
then in the earlier days, when you don't listen, your grandma would just throw a taboo around it, or threaten
Right.
you with something, don't touch it, this will get spoiled. Actually,
Yes.
it's not the pickle that will get spoiled, it's your skin that will get spoiled.
Okay.
So we're trying to make correction there with with fun activities, and involving all the genders. um yes, and the other thing, the one very last thing, because we do not speak enough about it. It's such a taboo, and there's too much stigma around speaking and sharing about your
Right.
menstrual health and menstruation. What happens is, women seek medical health. So if she has some kind of allergy, she will not speak. She will
Right.
not speak. She'll just keep on doing some desi goodbye or anything, and she will kind of control and bear all that pain and everything until it's unbearable.
Right.
See, this is the scenario we are living in. I have been speaking to a lot of gynecologists, right from rural India to urban gynecologists here
Mm-hmm.
in Jaipur. The woman, like, comes to her when she has like crossed the kind of limitation where it could be a treatable stuff, right? So
Right.
if she would have seek medical help earlier, it would have finished that, right in that, it could be treated. But what happens is, she goes at a very, very, very later stage. So there the treatment becomes very much difficult for her as well,
Right.
and also the doctor, to kind of go through this. And it's very it's very kind of depressing. It's quite sad story, women not
Yes.
being able to kind of speak about their problems even with
Right.
their husbands. And also, because her menstrual health is not that good, it may lead to infections in the males too.
Okay.
So also, it's very very much important to take care of your like intimate health of your partners.
Yes.
uh, and I think it's just very normal. It's very normal to do that. And
Yes, indeed.
people need to kind of start speaking, hey, this is happening, hey, I'm feeling a little bit itchy, I think there's some problem, I need to go and see the problem. It's just that simple, right?
Right.
And by what happens is we feel that there is too much shame around it. And
Yes.
what we are trying to do is we are trying to open up this topic. It could be just general thing. So another example that I would like to give is so in the old days, when women used to bleed, she used to wear white color cotton sheet or something, and then
Okay.
wash it, dry it in the sunlight. That would
Okay.
make it bacteria free. Sense,
Okay.
right? How does it affect boys as well? How does it affect boys as well? It is just so general information that even your undergarments should be dried completely directly in the sunlight
Yes.
to protect, to make your clothes and undergarments bacteria free. If
Mhm.
it has any kind of moisture, and if maybe some bugs or something has gone on to do it, you will definitely get allergy.
Yes.
And of course, allergies for males is also like very normal, right? It
Right.
can come from anywhere. Even
Right.
for example, if I'm wearing a t-shirt and
Right.
it's like it's got some spider or bugs on it and I wear it, I will definitely get some kind of infection. So
Right.
it's just exactly the same. And I think just generally speaking about one thing solves a
Mhm.
lot of multiple problems.
Right.
Don't you think? And we try to create a business, a social enterprise out of this whole idea where employment could be generated for women, where we could offer an eco-friendly solution, we could make it affordable. So prices of the product, so it could be one of the major reasons why women are not being able to use menstrual hygiene products is also the price. So we wanted to make it affordable and also accessible. So it's
Mhm.
just solving a multiple problem. And then yes, the whole idea is to make people speak about it very normal.
Right.
Don't hype it. Like today we are having a podcast, but would you have a podcast about this? Like maybe um for like we wouldn't be like charging your phone. It's a simple thing, right? It's not a taboo or it's not a stigma. We wouldn't be speaking about this for such a long time
Right.
if things were normal. But I hope in next coming decade we would have a we would talk about this very normally, like
Right.
give me a charger, give me your pad, give me this thing, I'm going through this.
Definitely.
Like we ask for a tablet for a headache. Yes, so yeah, we need to de stigmatize it.
Right. So, ma'am, you've shared a
um
great experience. There's a lot of stereotype as well as there's a section of people who know a lot about it. So there's a huge gap, and the best thing is to talk about it, right? And that's what we are doing, and that's
yeah.
it's great. And the way you are dealing with it, with Sanitary, with the Jeevan Arth Foundation, that is so great. Okay, so ma'am, we'll move towards some end of the show, right? So, of course, you've worked on field a great, you spend a lot of time working on field with people, and of course, there might
Yeah.
have been a lot of anecdotes that you might, ma'am, any one thing that you can share with us, and something that the youth needs to hear out. That is something that could inspire the youth, that the people could hear out, and that would benefit them.
Okay, so the general experiences are many, but I think we just need to move ahead. I want to leave you with the podcast with the information that I want all of you to who bleed. Normally, we think that only girls and women at certain age bleed, right?
Right.
So people who bleed are now going to be termed as menstruators. I request all of you to think that this term is going to be menstruators from now onwards for all of you who have heard this podcast. And why I am saying that is you will when you will research, you will come to know that other genders
Right.
also bleed, yes. So this needs to be spoken about because it's very general for a lady to get help, but for those who are from other genders, it's very much difficult and it's very hard to speak. So let's be very open and treat periods as a normal biological process. Just treat it as a normal biological process and everything will be fine. Please don't make a hawa about it.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. Thank you, ma'am, for being here at
Cool.
the show. It was an absolute honor hosting you at the podcast cafe. Thanks a lot, ma'am.